It's nearly impossible to compete on an FPS like Warzone or Fortnite without back paddles. Luckily, there's a $40 solution to fix that problem, and it's only going to take us 10 minutes. When this channel hits 5,000 subscribers, I will be giving away this DualSense with the back paddles as well as a Scuff Reflex Pro to a random subscriber. So if you want to win that, just make sure you're subscribed and you comment down below letting me know why I should choose you. Okay, first things first, here is the DualSense that came with my PS5. I have 0 modifications made to it, so I'll put that aside and show you guys the Extremerate Rise Remap kit. Inside, you're gonna find obviously the back paddles and back portion of the controller there, the hardware that we need. Here are the ribbon cables that are gonna go into the motherboard so that we can actually remap those buttons. And then it also comes with all the screws, hardware, and tools that we're gonna need to complete this project. All right, so the tools we're gonna need for this portion is gonna be our screwdriver and our pry tool. We're gonna wanna get this front plate off here. So we'll go ahead and stick the pry tool in there, pry that side up, this side up, and then it's pretty easy, just a couple clicks. Just be careful with it so you don't break it, obviously. Feel free to use this pry tool if it feels a little tight, and then just pull up gently and it should come right off. Now the next thing we're going to want to do is get the L1 and R1 buttons off. So we'll go ahead and just stick our pry tool again right underneath and just pry upward gently. You don't want to break any of the clips. Now we have those off. There's going to be 4 screws total. So we'll put our pieces to the side, get our screwdriver out, and then we'll find our screws. 2 are going to be under the bottom of the handle. Put these screws aside, guys. You do not want to lose these screws. And also, it's a good idea because sometimes this hardware is different shapes and sizes, believe it or not, to orient it the proper way. So if I'm going to store the left side screws on the left side and the right side screws on the right side, I'm going to do that just for ease. And then the top 2 are going to be up here under the L1 and R1 buttons that we removed. Okay, now that we have the screws out, we're going to go ahead and pry off the sides. First things first, there's going to be 2 clips here. And then there's gonna be a couple clips on the side. So we're just gonna stick our prying tool up in there, just slide it up and keep prying. There's gonna be a couple clips that you run into, particularly around this top area here. So just make sure that you just get this tool in here and it will come loose. There you go, there's one side. Let's get the other. That's already starting to come up. There we go. And now if you just lift off the back, this whole thing actually should just separate itself. Okay, so now that we have the back off, we need to get the battery out. So go ahead and just gently lift that out of there. Do not rip any of this stuff, guys. You want to be super careful. There's one screw right there that we're going to need to take care of. Okay, now the tray is gonna go ahead and lift out. Do this, everything we're doing here, very gently because there's always gonna be some type of ribbon cables or different things that are connected. So anytime you're taking out any of these type of terminals with wires, ribbon cables, anything like that, do not yank up by the battery or the cable. You're really gonna wanna make sure you get that base. You can do it with pliers, you can do it with screwdriver, or you can just be really gentle with your finger, back and forth and get it out. There you go. Okay guys, now we're gonna have to get this board out of the way. So there's 4 ribbon cables and 2 hooks that we're gonna have to remove. The 2 cables right here that we're gonna start with. Remember, do this stuff very gently, guys, even though we are gonna be replacing. Oh, see, it came right off the clip. So you have to be very gentle with the way that you remove all of these cables. These are getting replaced anyway, so you can just put those to the side. So remember, just pull it very gently, guys. You do not wanna rip these cables because then you're gonna have to get new ones. This one with the blue tab, go ahead and pull that upward very gently. Get it nice and out of the way. And then this small one right here on the bottom, we're gonna pull that very gently. There we go. So one of the clips already came off. That's right here. And the other clip is on this side here. So all we're gonna wanna do is gently pull up and away from those clips. There's one side. Be very careful because there's still going to be cables to your rumbles and you don't want to rip those off unless you're removing the rumbles. So that is out of the way. Okay guys, for this next part, you're gonna wanna grab this cable out of the kit that it came in, and then you're gonna wanna switch it to this orientation right here. You're gonna notice I zoomed in a little bit. There's gonna be a little ribbon cable here, and then there's gonna be 2 little black pins. You're gonna wanna make sure you thread through both sides. Take your time and be very gentle. Make sure you do a thorough job because you're not gonna wanna retake this apart again. After you have this on here very securely, and it seems like it's all the way down on there, don't push too hard. Go ahead and replace the board back in there, keeping in mind that you do have a couple ribbon cables that are still loose, so be very gentle about the way that you do this. Go ahead and pop that right back into place. Take your time. This needs to be over the top. There we go. We're gonna wanna make sure and just inspect that everything is kind of where it needs to be. Make sure that we have this cable and this blue cable sticking up, and we'll go ahead and reconnect those cables at this point. So this blue cable is gonna go right back down. Very gently go ahead and wiggle that back in there. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and get this little baby cable at the bottom, and we're gonna wiggle that into place very gently. Okay, so next up, I'm gonna go ahead and add the battery tray back in. This way we can get this thing secured before we have to connect all those ribbon cables. So this one's pretty simple. Remember, it was held on just by that one screw in that terminal there. So let's go ahead and do that really quick. We don't want to over tighten, just make sure that it's snug. Don't forget about this little ribbon cable here. You are going to want to reconnect that into here, just like so. All right, next up, so let's go ahead and connect our new ribbon cables here. As you guys will notice, this one actually says L1, L2, so make sure that's going in on the left side. And it's pretty simple how we're going to want to do this. The first thing you're going to want to do, I'm going to try to do this so you guys can see the best way possible. You're going to want to put this ribbon cable into this gray slot right here. You're going to be very gentle. You don't want to bend this up. You don't want to crimp the cable. So once you have it in, just remember gentle force and then just twist it back and forth. And that way you'll be able to actually secure that down into the terminal. There's a little tiny tab on the back so you can get it. Now we're going to go ahead and fold this thing over, and the next terminal that we're going to connect to is right there. So we're going to fold this down into this terminal. Same type of deal, very light force. Okay, so for the right side, we're going to get the R1, R2 ribbon cable that comes in the kit. We're going to go ahead and flip this over, and let me show you where the terminals are. The first terminal, we're going to find it right here on the side of the controller. So let me go ahead and insert the ribbon cable there. Same type of deal, guys. Just take your time. Do not rush this process. Be gentle with this cable. Rock back and forth once we know we're in the terminal. That way we know that we have it secured all the way down in there. And then this will just wrap right around, and the other port is right here. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we get that one. All right, so as you can see, we have this ribbon cable connected to those two terminals, this ribbon connected to those two terminals, and then we connected this little ribbon cable here, and we added the battery tray back in. So now we're gonna go ahead and lift up these ribbon cables, and we're gonna reinstall the battery. This is a pretty simple process. Just gently lift. Remember, take your time with all of this, and then this will just go right back into the terminal right below. Be very gentle with all these cables. It's easy to pull the cables out of this little terminal and damage them. Okay, and it should look like that when you're finished. Okay, so next up, we're gonna go ahead and fold over this ribbon here, and then you're gonna wanna stick it onto the edge of your battery. For some reason, it's supposed to have like a little cardboard or plastic piece over this because this is supposed to be sticky glue. And for some reason, mine doesn't have that. Now it's not very sticky. But what you're gonna wanna do, if you look closely at these terminals, there's these little black guards here. You lift them up, and that's what actually locks your cables into place. So see how I lifted them up? Now you can go ahead and slide your ribbon cable into here. And then after you do it, you just, boom, flip the lock in place. And then this one actually comes across and goes into here. Once that's in, flip this down. We're not going to be using this terminal here, the L3, R3. There is an included extra ribbon cable, which I'll show you guys right now. It does require soldering, and if you guys do that one, you could actually control the touchpad and use it as buttons and things like that. So that's what that's for, but I don't have a soldering kit, so I'm not going to do that one. And then let's go ahead and move on to the actual back of the controller and the button kit. Get the new back buttons and back of our controller out. Just for reference, here is the old one, so you can kind of see the color differences there. Just a little bit lighter in color, and then also just a little bit of a different texture. Pretty similar, not too bad. Let's go ahead and work on this new one here. Now, one thing to notice, guys, is that this back plate is actually held on by 4 different screws right here that are provided with the kit. For some reason, mine already came assembled, and a lot of times it does not. So if it's not, you are gonna have to take this plate, stick it onto the back over the 4 screw terminals, and then you take the 4 provided screws, which are different length hardware. So keep the orientation correct on these, and then go ahead and screw that in. After that, you can see there's actually metallic rods that are put through the back buttons, and then you just simply click them down, click them down into place there, and then we'll go ahead and move on to our next step, which is actually this door cover here. And again, a lot of times this black part right here, it's not already assembled. So all you're gonna do is press that down, click it into the hole, and then you'll see that it actually holds in by 2 little pins. So we'll go ahead and move on to our next step. Okay, so next up, you're gonna go ahead and find this little oval piece. This is just gonna go right into this hole because this is the button. There will be 2 little pins. Boom, that's in place. We'll put that to the side and also move this to the side because now we need our controller again. Now remember this ribbon that was sticking up here? Let me show you what to do with it. You're gonna go ahead and you're gonna slide it right through the back port on the controller. Boom, just like that. We're gonna go ahead and grab this circuit board that comes with the controller here, and we're gonna go ahead and slide this into the back this way. Remember that there is a clamp, it's black on the top of this terminal, so you are going to want to make sure you clamp that down onto the cable like that, and now you can see that that's secured into place. Next up, you're going to simply connect this to the back of the controller there, and there's 2 little pinholes. Hopefully you can see that. And then we're going to take 2 tiny screws that come with the kit, and they're going to go into these holes here. Okay, now that we have our back button assembled, pretty simple. All we're gonna do is we are going to start clicking this controller back into place, just like that. Make sure that you get all the clips. I'm actually gonna plug my controller in because, would you believe it, my controller is dead right now. But a way that you can test right now to see if you hooked everything up correctly, go ahead and hold down this button here, and then a red LED is gonna turn on. You can see right there, it's kind of dim just because the studio light's in here, but red LED is on, and that is indicating that it's correct. Next thing we're going to want to check is that these buttons are clicky. So now we're going to go ahead and insert those screws that we put aside before. Remember, 2 terminals are in R1 and L1, and 2 are in the bottom of the handles. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right, you guys are gonna wanna watch closely because this is the most important part. Now we're gonna go ahead and program these buttons here. So all we're gonna do is you take this button here and you click it in. We're gonna wait until the red LED indicator comes on. It is on and solid. We're gonna go ahead and choose what we wanna do. So we're gonna hold down the paddle, and I'm gonna make this my X. So as soon as I do that, boom, you can see the little blink that shows that it's programmed. This one, same thing, we're gonna hold it down. I'll make that my circle. It's programmed, perfect. And now all we're gonna have to do is re-hold down this button to get out of programming. Once we do, that turns off and you're all done.